Welcome to Medicine Story Podcast. I am Chivito Koa, Little Goat Crow, facilitator of the Tree of Totems Spiritual Wilderness School and Cultural Community. In these podcasts, we adopt the indigenous and ancestral lens of walking the inner road, gathering around the virtual fireside where we decolonize our stories and reclaim the medicine we carry into this world. In today's podcast, we are going to explore what it is to be tender and why tenderness is something we want to cultivate in our everyday life, and how when we avoid this sense of tenderness, we actually cut off the flow and connection we have with spirit. We build walls in our relationships, and we begin to isolate ourselves from the very flow of life. And tenderness, as we will explore, is that gateway to a greater layer of connection and flow. As usual, we begin with some form of beauty making, and today we begin with a poem that was written in a moment of embracing tenderness and what that offered me. And here we are. I sit here beside the fire, crackling and popping, it adds its prayers with mine. I play the elkskin hoop drum and I sing in moans and sounds resonant with the memories of my past.
Week I have been
There's wounds here.
And at first,
There are wounds
I wanted to
here.
retreat from this tenderness.
With hidden grief
I didn't want
and
to
anger.
feel it.
Emotions
I had not
were
known.
surfacing and pulling,
So
like
I
the
offer
moon
up
pulls
tobacco
the
to
tide.
these wounds. And
I
they
offer
felt
up cedar to
as
those
if they'd
who
overwhelmed
wounded
me. So I
offer up
suppressed them.
sage for the wisdom
I just
they've
wanted
given
to
me.
harvest the
I
medicine
offer
in my
up
wounds and
sweetgrass
move on.
for the joys
But this
they
is not the way.
inadvertently
And it does not
afford
honor
me today
my
and
medicine
my many tomorrows.
to do so in such a way.
I receive these
I knew
wounds
this
for what they
stirring
are,
of emotions is
an
actually
offering
what I
of my
wanted.
true life.
I
An
knew this is
offering
what I
of my
asked
true
for.
strength,
For these
hidden
hidden
emotions
to the
woven
hidden
just
landscape
beneath the surface of my
spirit
being
walk.
to come forward. With each wound
finally
I offer
release.
up, I take
But when they
another
began,
step
I backed away.
into the sacred circle.
So last weekend,
With each
I
journeyed
journeyed
into
I
the
give,
forest and I fell
I
down
become
to
a
my
little
hands
more
and
whole.
knees, and I
spoke
stand
to the trees
in tenderness.
in the
ferns.
I
And
stand
I felt my
in
hands
tenderness,
receive
for
tenderness,
cold,
is
wet
the gateway
soil.
to true strength.
I brought my brow
To the strength
to that
of
musky
the elder.
earthen floor.
It is entrance
And I asked for
to
help.
wholeness.
I asked for help
For
to
all that
receive
has been,
these
and
emotions
for all
and
yet
memories
to come,
in a good way.
I give.
I asked them to
thanks.
show me
May
how,
this prayer be
how
an
to
offering.
receive them.
Om.
To give me the strength and presence of heart and mind to receive them. And then I felt the forest speak. Embrace tenderness. It is a gift. It is entrance to real strength. I listened to those words, and I felt it share. It is in cultivating this sensitivity to tenderness that gives one true strength. For it requires a grounded sense of presence to be with fragile things. It requires a grounded sense of presence to be with fragile things. And I asked the forest, but how do I do this? How do I embrace being tender? It hurts and it scares me. And the forest said, give offerings to your memories. Give offerings to all concerned for all you have received. In this way you become receptive to receive.
And so this is how I learned to receive these memories in a good way. And the prayer I shared at the beginning came from this conversation that I had with the forest this past weekend. Now, if you're new to the sense of giving offerings is a sense where you have like sacred plants, such as tobacco or cedar or sage, or they could be other things that are personal to you. But they hold the significance of your gratitude. They hold the significance of a deeply felt presence within you, and you are giving and you're offering those prayers with that plant. Just like you can feel, like if you borrow someone's jacket and you put it on and you can feel their energy in it, or stepping into someone's car, you feel their sense of energy in that car. When you imbue these sacred things like plants or stones or crystals with this sense of offerings, it imbues that energy, and when you give that, there is a sense of exchange and connection that occurs. So this element of giving offerings to your memories, to the wounds, to each feeling and sensation that comes up, creates this receptive energy where suddenly you can now dialogue with it, and you could receive its lessons, its memories, its medicine that is woven within it. See, I am now apprenticing to this strength of being tender, which for me is apprenticing to being receptive. For me, tenderness is about being receptive. It is apprenticing to being with what is in this moment. I'm apprenticing to tending to fragile things and seeing how it takes a strength of and a presence of mind to do so. And there's many fragile things in this life. Many fragile things within my heart and my mind. And to be tender allows me to be present with those fragile things that are inside of me, and to be with others. I'm sure you've noticed there is a tenderness to doing this kind of inner work, this shadow work that we do here in Medicine Story and with Tree of Totems. And we may not be accustomed to embracing tenderness in today's world and society. We've been told a lie, this colonized mentality that tenderness is a form of weakness, to be sensitive and tender. Instead, we're told we're supposed to just get over things, buck up, be strong. But all this does is shut us off, isolate us, make us feel as if we are not measuring to some measurement of society. And it's time we decolonize tenderness and recognize we've been told not to be tender because it's truly the gateway to our strength, our ability to be with others. I noticed that when I refuse being tender, right? That tenderness, when that tenderness arrives, there's a sense, there's a calling. Tenderness is this calling to come into something, to dialogue and be present. And yet, when we refuse that call, when we refuse to being tender and receptive to what arises, we experience a kind of severance. When you do embrace this call into tenderness, however, perhaps you can see how you become more connected to yourself. And you gain a new sense of wholeness and a deeper relationship with your own path, with others. For example, the past few weeks I've noticed how it's been challenging for me to do ceremony, and even a resistance to enter the forest. I notice how I have forgotten to light the candles and give offerings on my altar. If I'm to be transparent, it's not always forgetfulness, but a clear avoidance to do so. For me, I know when the fires are lit within the candles around my altar,
when I speak my prayers and call in my teachers and ancestors, when I give offerings, that I am opening the conversation where I must be fully present, transparent, and honest. There's no half-truths when I step into the space with my teachers and ancestors. And so I avoided going there. I've walked this path long enough now that my teachers require me to step into my more aligned and embodied self, to channel the elder within me when I greet them. And because I haven't been willing to be tender and receptive, I haven't felt worthy to receive my teachers and be in company with them. And I could tell I was hiding. And I've noticed as I avoid stepping into this sacred space, I become less diligent in greeting the forest or performing the micro rituals of greeting people or spaces. Suddenly my cold showers are really cold, and I resist the cold plunge in the river. I notice how avoiding my altar space is also rippling into avoiding other parts of my life, and I feel a wound as I isolate myself from the sacred. The moment I spoke the prayer above, lit those candles and gave offerings, however, I felt all my resistance fall away. I felt I was able to breathe and simply be. And I see this ripple into my day, this sense of grace and ease that tenderness lends me. See, what we are speaking into here is how being tender or receptive or simply willing to be with our life experiences as they are provides us these open doors and open pathways to life flowing through us. When we resist, however, we find a ripple effect where we ourselves are barring the doorway to the greater connection and presence of life we innately know is available to us. In tenderness, we become receptive. We become available to all parts of ourselves, and when we can be fully present with ourselves, we can become present with others. We can only meet others to the degree we have journeyed within and met ourselves. We can only meet others to the degree we have journeyed within and met ourselves. So let us invite ourselves to connect in again and explore being tender, of being transparent and real with ourselves and others. This tenderness is a gateway into a greater relatedness with our own soul, with others, with the life path we have lived. We may ask, where are you struggling to be fully receptive and in presence of in your life? And what is that telling you? What impact do you think it will have if you can be present and move through whatever is surfacing within you? And how might this tenderness become an ally? These are some good questions to ponder. And if you have questions regarding tenderness, if you would like support, look to our website, and we do mentoring. Walking this path alone is not what we are meant to do. To have someone ask the right questions, to just be able to receive and listen and hold that space, is potent medicine in itself. Or seek out a friend or an elder. You are not alone. And this tenderness is a true gift that you give not only yourself, but others. Om.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Medicine Story Podcast. If you wish to explore our upcoming gatherings, offerings, and cultural community, you can visit us at treeoftotems.com. Once again, I am Chivito Koa, Little Goat Crow. Thank you for gathering with me today. Om.